Jordan, another week of sport.
Another week of sport down.
Have you caught much? Have you caught the Formula One this weekend?
No. I caught the highlights. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared, especially with a 6-week-old baby, to get up at 10 to 6 in the morning to be able to watch Japan. It's obviously really nice for like the Australian fans who it's got a huge Australian and New Zealandish following on, and unfortunately they have to get up at silly o'clock to watch our side of the world. But no, I didn't catch the live. I just caught the highlights.
Well, thankfully for me, my 1-year-old does get up at around 10 to 6. So I was up and I did catch it. I mean, over the years, I'll get up and I'll watch the Aussie and I'll watch the Japanese and things in it anyway. So that doesn't bother me. And
Yeah.
I think as well, the Japanese, the big one this year in the last couple of years has been Yuki Tsunoda, his home race. So I think that's why it also gets probably a little bit more interest than what it normally would.
Yeah, I mean, I like the track. It's track by any means. It's a track that's been on the calendar for years and years and years. But it's not one that really promotes a lot of exciting racing. Yes, you've got corners that are classed as corners, but they take the drivers
flat
take them
out.
flat out, so they may as well be straights. I mean, you've got Spoon into R180 or whatever it's called. I don't know. And then you've got a really harsh braking zone into a hairpin, into a chicane. Sorry, that's impossible to overtake on. So
yeah,
it's not the most exciting, but it was a reasonably entertaining sort of couple of hours.
I think after qualifying with Sargent taking the massive, I mean that was a massive shunt, which I don't understand why he got loads of understeer. The car just wasn't turning, and he just seemed to keep his foot on the accelerator as if something was going to happen. But
yeah,
fairly steady qualifying. Max obviously takes pole, and the McLaren 2-3 was interesting.
it was interesting. That car seems to be getting better and better.
But what we haven't seen in qualifying is usually Oscar might get second and third, and then Lando's maybe 7th and 8th, and vice versa. We've not had it where they've both been in the top 3.
Yeah, this is true, and I think it is probably the second strongest car on the grid at the moment. Not necessarily for what 1 lap pace, even though they did come second and third, but actual race pace when they are on hard tyres. The 2 best cars on the grid for hard tyres seem to be McLaren and Haas, but obviously Haas don't seem to be able to capitalise at all.
No,
but McLaren are quick on hard tyres. And that showed today, being able to defend from each other, but also defend from people on mediums not being able to close the gap.
I mean, you go back to any point last year. Would a McLaren defended against Ferrari chasing it down? They wouldn't have been within a few places of each other on the track.
Yeah.
So they've come on leaps and bounds, and I'm chuffed because I've got a soft spot for Zach Brown as much as you haven't. So
I like McLaren. I love McLaren. Obviously they're a British team anyway. But I don't like Zach Brown. Maybe because he's American. I don't know. But no offense to the American viewers or listeners out there. But I am thrilled, absolutely over the moon, that Oscar Piastri in his rookie season has got his first podium.
He's the first rookie in 6 years to stand on the podium.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, massive.
The result today puts him in 9th overall in the World Drivers' Championship, 57 points. Interestingly, he is 58 points behind George Russell, and I can't see him catching George Russell. I think it'll be nip and tuck because I think Mercedes have got a quick car, and there is sort of 7-8 races left.
Yeah,
but interesting. Lando and George are on the exact same number of points on 115. So McLaren can really, if they continue to develop the car and continue to do well, they can really get some outstanding prize money and funding and sponsorship ready for developing the car in the winter break and then into next year.
Which I think I think they need. I think they've had a bit of a bum deal over the years anyway. So, you know, the 49 points off Aston Martin. I think they're going to get them. I don't think they'll catch Ferrari, but I think fourth place is more than achievable for them. And over the years, I mean, they've been behind Aston Martin. They've probably been behind Alpine as well, haven't they, over the last sort of couple of years?
Yes.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, massive result. The race itself, Bottas and both Alphas came in for a nose change, and Perez came in twice. So the Perez thing was interesting because he came in twice for two noses, retired, crashed with Lewis. So Perez crashed with Lewis, safety car penalty, knocked Magnussen round, 2 stops, 2 wings, and he retires on the 15th lap.
But it was really interesting, and I didn't really know what was going on. And Perez came into the pits. Perez was placed back in his garage for 6 laps, and
so
they sent him back out. I didn't understand what was going off there.
So what happened was he came out of the pits behind the safety car. Now, technically, the pit lane finishes where the pit line exit is, which is halfway down the straight.
Yeah,
he's come out, and as he's crossed that, it's really technically weird. This he has overtaken cars as he's coming out the pits.
Understood. I saw this. Yeah,
and then as he's crossed the line, he's sort of slotted into the pack. Now I mean, without really going into the details and looking back at the video, he's fed into the pack, but they're saying that he's overtaken as he's crossed the line.
Yeah.
So he's had to feed cars back in. Now, I don't know the exact numbers. Let's say he took 4. He only let 3 go back past.
Right. I did see this. I think, to be honest, it's really, really like finicky from the FIA there, because I think it was 18th and 17th that he overtook.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But
he picked up a 5-second penalty, which he didn't serve because he then retired, which I don't understand the technicalities, but he will have had to have served something for the next race. So what they did was send him back out where it wouldn't have affected Max. So waited for the pit window to go, sent him back out, serve his penalty, and then retire him.
Yeah, because I think in the history of Formula One, now don't quote me on this, but certainly in the modern era when I've been watching, Perez was 6 laps behind the leader. That has to be a record. I thought they were pushing for fastest lap. I thought they were just going to stick him out there, let him go around in circles, and then push for fastest lap just to try and seal the constructors. But
yeah.
Big breaking news out of the world of Formula One and Japan this weekend is that Red Bull have taken their 6th Constructors' Championship, which makes it 2 consecutive Constructors' Championships in a row.
Quite early in the season. It's sad that they don't. There's technically there's 46 points up for grabs or something like that. Is it 18 for second?
Yes.
Oh, so it's 44 points with the fastest lap up for grabs or something every weekend. So they don't, with 7 races to go, they don't have to put a car on the track and no one can catch them. That's and don't get me wrong, 1 or 2, 3 races towards the end of the season, that's interesting. But 7 races before the end. But good outcome of the race. Max obviously winning. And then the McLaren swapping over from qualifying, Lando and Oscar 2nd and 3rd. I think Lando's getting more out of the car at the minute. That's a sort of given. He was 15 seconds behind Max, and Oscar was 15 seconds behind him. So
I want to move on from Formula One shortly, but just very, very quickly, your opinion on pressure on Lando, rookie Oscar Piastri coming in and banging in a podium and banging in 58 points and performing like he is. Do you think it's pressure on Lando?
No, I think think at the end of the day, he's getting the job done and finishing ahead of him in the racing. Yes, he out-qualified him, but it's results that matter, isn't it?
Watch this space.
Been a little bit of cricket this weekend, just quickly. Bit of one-day international. England, Ireland. England 334 for 8. Jack's hit 94 runs off 88 balls, so over a run a ball, which I think is pretty impressive. It was a bit of a experimental England team, so Ireland got bowled out for 44 overs at 286, so still quite a golfing class with Irish rugby, but Irish cricket. But over the last maybe sort of 5 or 6 years, it has come on leaps and bounds. Football been an interesting weekend. Today was the North London derby, Arsenal Spurs. I don't know if you caught any of that. I watched that this afternoon, and I'll be honest, probably the most exciting 2-2 draw I've watched for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea lost as well today again. Chelsea are sort of difficult because, they lost to Villa today, and they brought in Poch over the summer. They had a poor season last year. I think they finished about 11th last year. So they're only 6 games into the season. I understand that. It's not crisis time, but they are sat in 14th. They're not really sort of picking up results. The teams that don't seem to be gelling that they're getting, bringing in a lot of players. Poch is the man for me, but I just hope that the owners don't get a bit trigger happy and make him the first casualty of the season or anything like that. I think, you've got to give them the longevity. These managers that are getting it and now get, Arteta at Arsenal, he was under a lot of stick the first 18 months, but, they pushed City for the title and they're doing well this year. So hopefully he stays. Championship, probably game of the championship would have been Ipswich-Blackburn. 8 minutes in, 1-1. Blackburn come back from 3-1 down, but unfortunately lose 4-3 to Ipswich, who come up from League One again, and the second in the league. They're absolutely flying. So I can see sort of Ipswich doing very well if they're going to continue this little run. And then Plymouth beating Norwich. So Norwich, something like it's a 12-hour round trip, Norwich to Plymouth, 700 miles, and they were 4-0 down at half time. Plymouth won 6-2. So there's nothing worse than just effectively absolutely wasting your Saturday going to watch your beloved team, and at half time, you're just thinking, get to the bar. Swansea beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-0. Sheffield Wednesday sat rock bottom of the championship, winless. Portsmouth are top of League One, which 2010 that is when they had all their financial difficulties, and that was the last season they were in the Premier League. So it's taken them 13 years. They've not jumped back through the leagues, but hopefully they can get back to some sort of stability in sense of a league. And I know they've been in League One for a while, but I don't think that's where they deserve to be. I think, with their club and, the ground and everything else, championship minimum should be their target. And then the Wrexham documentary has started again on Disney Plus, where, they follow the Ryan Reynolds and the Rob McElhenney sort of season, and it started the second season, so last year when they got promoted from the conference has started. But unfortunately, this episode for next season, where they lost 5-0 to Stockport. So Wrexham have been scoring goals, but they have conceded 4s and 5s for a couple of times this season. So they've not had it all their own way.
Yeah. Did you catch Harry Kane's hat-trick against VFL Bochum yesterday?
I've seen it now. Have you seen the
goal scorer on the continent and in the UK?
Have you seen the controversy though?
I'm aware of the controversy. I've seen it on BBC Sport, not seen it on.
Are you aware? So people are saying it's not a hat trick?
Okay.
Because a Bundesliga hat trick is 3 goals without anyone else scoring in between in the same half.
Oh, really?
So they're saying, so in the Bundesliga, hat trick, an official hat trick, is when you score 3 goals. So you can't score 2, someone else score, and then you score again. They say you've got to score the 3 goals, and it's in one half uninterrupted.
Okay.
So there's a bit of thing around it where it's not. It's a hat trick. There's no two ways about that.
I was gonna say, is the rule of football not
not universal? No,
yeah. It's the Germans being very strict and stringent with you must score. I'm not going to do the accent.
It doesn't sound like Germans would be strict and stringent.
No.
The Rugby World Cup is continuing in some fashion. France beat Nambia 96-0. Argentina, Samoa, so that was on Wednesday. Argentina, Samoa 19-10 Thursday. It might have been Thursday, Fridays, those games. But this weekend you saw, to be fair, 3 belting games on Saturday. So Georgia, Portugal. Portugal have never won a game in the World Cup. Georgia, they're all, the lower level teams, and they're playing each other. So a team here has got a fantastic opportunity for a win. And unfortunately, they drew 18 all. You don't get many draws. And Portugal missed a penalty at the last kick of the game as well. So really unfortunate for them. England, to be fair, first 20 minutes, they really struggled against Chile. Chile looked really up for the fight. England didn't score for the first 20 minutes, and then eventually class prevailed. Harry Arundel scoring a record equaling 5 tries in a 71-0 win against Chile. For me, the South Africa-Ireland game was probably, if you wanted to get someone into rugby, put that on. It finished 13-8 to Ireland. So
really close score between the two teams there.
And South Africa really unlucky. The game that could have gone either way. Normally, you want to see a 35-29 game, something high scoring, but this was just as exciting and really unlucky for South Africa. I thought they didn't get the rub of the green sometimes, but they've had it in other games maybe where they didn't deserve it. Who knows? But I think that's the warm up for the final. And I think the problem you have, and this happened with England a few years ago under Eddie Jones, where they beat New Zealand in the semi-final, and the I can't remember the exact terminology, but you got to be careful that's not their final, because England played extremely well against New Zealand in that, and then unfortunately against South Africa just didn't turn up in the final because they felt like they'd already won it by beating New Zealand.
Yeah.
So and they've got to be careful, Ireland, that South Africa and Ireland are the two favourites, so they've got to be careful that wasn't their final, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course. Air of complacency, isn't it? Like, we've beaten once, we can beat them again type thing.
Yeah, and that's what you be careful.
I would argue that 13-8 is not a convincing victory.
No, and I don't believe that, if you go into a final, I don't believe that it's going to be the same South Africa team that turn up as to what came. And not that they didn't not play well, but Khaleesi came off early. Faf de Klerk probably too long, little things like that. So, and then obviously Scotland, Tonga, and the big one for me tonight, where it sees Wales, Australia, where we could effectively qualify for the next round tonight. So, Gatland and Jones again, all eyes on that. I am excited. Golf as well. Solheim Cup, the women's version of the Ryder Cup.
Yep, finished
14
today.
all. Yeah, 14 all. So Europe retain. I'm a bit on the edge of this. I don't think you should play enough points where you can draw. Difficult because you can half games and stuff like that, but you should then have a playoff. A bit like the Ashes. You shouldn't be able to draw a series and retain like they have. I don't like that. And obviously the Ryder Cup starting this week in Italy. So that'll be exciting to talk about next week. Fingers crossed we can see good European performance. McIlroy says that he wants his clubs to do the talking, but unfortunately, saying that, you're doing the wrong kind of talking. So I don't know. I really want to see a European win. I think Americans have got it at the minute, and you know, I don't know how much you watch golf over the years gone by, but around years ago now, to be exact, maybe about 5, maybe 12 years ago, you had the miracle at Medina where going to the last day, they had to win like 8 out of the 10 games to win. The odds were stacked against them. Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson was all in the USA team, and Europe won 9 out of the 10 games, and it was absolutely unbelievable day of golf. So I'd love that for that kind of level of golf, but it's one of those I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again in our lifetime. But
yeah,
we can hope. A little bit of boxing this weekend. Zhang fought Joe Joyce, who was brutally knocked out in the first fight, and sort of said that he vowed to come back and avenge that defeat, which unfortunately
what happened?
He got knocked out even worse this time. So Zhang fought on the undercard of the Anthony Joshua Ruiz rematch in Saudi Arabia, and Zhang fought another Middle Eastern fighter who was another big prospect. They were both undefeated, and that was Zhang. And I couldn't believe these two fighters were, they're about like 19, 20 and 0, seasoned professionals, but unbeaten. And they both put the record on the line. Zhang, he's a big guy, strong as an ox. And to be fair, I thought one of these guys would be up for some sort of title soon. And Zhang's got to be in there. He's beaten Joe Joyce twice now. And in the third round, Joe Joyce sort of come on the defensive, dropped his left hand, and Zhang caught him with a right hook. And I mean, he sort of got up on the referee's count of about 7, but the referee called it. He could obviously see in his eyes, and Joyce didn't put up much of a no, you should let me carry on. He kind of probably thought, well, he probably didn't know what was going on, if I'm completely honest.
Question is now for Joyce. He's 38 years old. He's just been beaten again, and in quite dramatic fashion. The cameras caught sort of when they were brought away from Zhang celebrating. He was having oxygen on a stool.
Yeah.
Joyce. So, is this probably the end of his career? Do you think he'll hang his blood?
He said he's not thinking of retirement, but 38. He turned professional quite late. I think it's a professional about 32, 33. So I don't know. You've got people like Audley Harrison and Kawasaki fought quite late. Lennox Lewis fought quite late. So if you do, you don't get in the ring with someone like that again. Be prepared to. Derek Chisor or Audley Harrison, in the 40s, getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua in the second round. Expect that. That's, the next level of fighters going to come up, and they're going to do that to you. But Joyce maybe just needs to not take the big fights and just maybe take fewer smaller purses and generate his income that way. He needs to be careful. Conor Benn fought last night in Florida, took a last-minute fight after not serving his ban, but having his ban rescinded for substances after the Eubank fight. So he took that. Nothing dramatic. Couldn't get rid of his opponent. He won on points, convincingly on points. He took 9 of the 10 rounds, but you just can't. I just can't wait to see him fight Eubank. I hope they get to each other. And then next week is Canelo versus Charlo. Charlo, great middleweight, American middleweight. Very good record, quite dangerous at the minute. Canelo, aging, but probably arguably he will Triple G pound for pound, or Floyd Mayweather pound for pound greatest fighter ever. So it's going to be a good fight, very, very good fight. But 4 o'clock, waking up at 4 o'clock. I think it's fine in Mexico, so I'm not waking up 4 a.m. to get up and watch that one. I don't think this week. A sport we don't talk about on here. There's been a new record in the women's marathon. It was the Berlin Marathon today.
Yeah, I actually saw this. I was going to bring this up actually, and a really not just a marathon broke. A marathon absolutely
Smashed. Yeah. She won it in 2 hours, 11 minutes, 53 seconds. She took 2 minutes, 9 seconds off. Now,
it doesn't sound a lot, and I know for the people that I have followed marathon running and marathon records actually, which is a really weird thing to follow, but I have. And in the course over the course of 26.3 miles, 2 minutes doesn't sound a lot, but it is an unbelievable achievement to beat it by that margin.
You have the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile and things like that come into play here, where no one had run that until someone said it's achievable. Then that year, another 8 people went and did it, and then so now and it's maybe it's more psychological. I don't know, but records have been getting broken and broken and broken. And the marathon is one that doesn't get broken every year. It's been set. They get set for a while, and because there's just the sheer feat of, like you say, 26.3 miles. You can't take 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? There's so many variables that happen in that time that you just can't. But I do believe Berlin is known to be the best chance at breaking the marathon.
Yes, yeah.
So it's one of them.
That's where most of the records have come throughout the years.
Yeah. So, you don't tend to get it in a London marathon. I mean, New York's pretty flat from when I've been, but I know the loop it takes and things like that. So probably it's a bit too sort of overshadowed by skyscrapers that you don't maybe get the right feel for the run. I don't know, but I mean, I can't go just how much it might. I think the nearest thing you're going to get to it is if someone took maybe half a second off Usain Bolt's time.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And I mean, don't get me wrong. There's runners sprinters that will never go under 10 seconds that will compete at the Olympics, but they'll never win a gold medal, and that's the 9.58. So it's that half a second off Usain Bolt.
Yeah,
but to go another half a second below that is incredible.
Yeah, I think Eliud Kipchoge ran the Berlin Marathon yesterday at 2:02, 2 hours, 2 minutes and 29 seconds, something like that.
Yeah,
and he has run a 1 sub 2 hour marathon, and that was 1:59:40.2, which was special shoes, and that was
he had pacemakers,
he had pacers, and he had basically like a slipstream makers, so he can run at the ultimate pace. But if we've come down from 2 hours 30, 2 hours 20, 2 hours 10, now 2 hours 2, the human, how far can humans actually physically go? We're not a piece of equipment that we can refine. Science, technology, and healthcare is getting better, but can we run a sub 2 hour marathon in a marathon setting?
I think we can. I mean, like you say, that 1:59:40 was trainers that you're not allowed to wear for a normal race.
Yes.
He had pacemakers throughout. I think it was a 2 kilometer or 2 mile loop as well.
Yes, it wasn't a course. It wasn't a marathon course. It was a
loop. Did you do it in Italy? Did you do around the Vatican City or something from memory? I can't
something like that. It was for some reason it was sponsored by Ineos.
Yeah, it was.
It was the Ineos 1:59 challenge.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, regardless of paces, wearing night paces, having pacemakers in a loop, a 1:59:40 is very, very impressive.
Yeah, but
But
like even so, like he's still running a 2:02
yeah,
without
I,
pacemakers.
I do think we'll get it. I do think there'll be someone out there, and he's a fantastic runner, but there'll be a Usain Bolt moment, probably in our lifetime. But I don't think you'll start seeing the top three coming under 2 hours. I don't think you'll get to that level where,
Yeah,
it's done regular, it's done by a few people. I don't think you'll get to that, but I do think we will see a sub 2 hour marathon run in race conditions, but it's going to fall in a perfect situation, the right condition, the right weather conditions, the right, the guys woke up in the right mood, and things like that.
You've just got to. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. You've just got to run at 13.2 miles an hour for 26.3 miles, and you'll break it. Simple as that. I might do it tomorrow. Oh no, I'm working. I can't. Damn.
Oh well. I mean, I'd love to know what, to revert it into. I know my pace, kilometers, how many minutes a kilometer and things like that, and we're talking mine. I have done a half marathon in 1:50, and that was like 5 minutes 13 a kilometer.
Okay.
These guys are running these marathons at 2.5 minutes a kilometer.
Yeah, so 13.2 miles an hour is 21.2 kilometers per hour. So that is absolutely blistering.
Yeah, so they've got to do it somewhere in the region of about 2 minute 15 a kilometer. That's just incredible.
I could do that in a car.
Yeah, but not through Doncaster. You can't.
No.
Far too many red lights and roundabouts for you to be doing that. But yeah, just an incredible feat, and I don't think we will see Usain Bolt's records get broken for another 20 years. I don't think you'll see many people go sub 2 hours. Those kind of records will sit for many, many, many of years, where they're just impossible to strive for physically. Like you say, technology will take you so far, but the human body can only do so much.
So a little bit of homework for next week, a little bit of research for next week's podcast is we have to come up with the record that has been held for the longest. It can be a silly record or it can be a genuine record. Let's bring it to the pod next week and let's see which kind of world record has stood for the longest time.
No worries. I will get on that for you.
Excellent.
I will catch you next week.
Take care.
Take care.